I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just a couple of quick things. Ben is not here, but for medical reasons, and therefore he is able to participate fully in votes and discussions today. And then also I've moved the public comment section to the end because we have a lot of invited guests who have short timetables to be with us this morning, so we'll have public comments later. So jumping right into the agenda, outdoor assembly application for the Shelter Island 10K run. And we've got, I saw Brendan here. Yeah, Brendan Dagan, and also Mary Ellen Pietro to go over the application with us. So Brendan, do you want to give us a quick overview?
Of course. Thank you for the opportunity to present the Shelter Island 10K run. We're going to be using the same event scheme and run a show as we have in years past. Setup will begin the day prior. On race day, we'll be setting up starting in the morning with full breakdown at 8 o'clock. We'll be starting on corralling the people on School Street, checking in outside of the school, using the run a show that we've worked with the police chief Reed on reopening the roads for transparency for people that are attending the event at the Rams Head Inn. And we will need, we'll be serving beer donated by the same organization that we've had in the past at the American Legion. We would like I think we need to apply for the noise exemption, if I'm correct. But I think that is sort of the broad strokes I have on my end.
Okay. Christina, do you have the map that we could just bring up just to show everybody where the race route is?
Give me 1 second, I can get that for you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, what I think, besides the route itself, I also would like if you can go through the times for road closures.
Road closures? Sure.
Yeah, it's just an opportunity for us to.
Generally, the police department, we refer people to the police department for the exact.
Oh, if you could come up
to
the podium, just so you're closer to the mics.
So we're not, conflicting with any times, because they're the ones that usually dictate that. So when we have weddings, call-outs, or other events, we refer them to the police department, so we're not incorrect at anything. And for that beer, we have somebody that will keep people on the property of the Legion so they don't go over to school property with the alcohol. We have signage and we have somebody that monitors that.
And what we've got showing is the map. And so we've got the red square, which is where the elite runners get ready, the start of the race. Then the 10K corral is the blue square, and then the yellow gold square is the 5K corral.
The race starts at 5:30, the 5K portion starts at 5:50.
And we did have a pre-meeting to go over the race, and just to make sure highway, PD, all interested parties knew what their responsibilities were, and that EMS. So it is a well-oiled machine. This is the 47th year.
47.
Yeah.
But we've done the post-race party the last 5 years the same exact way. We're trying to keep everything contained since COVID, so we don't use the school building. We, outside we have a lightning plan, we have a, medical plan. We're pretty concise about all that. And then the signs, I did put a request in for the last. There are 10 signs up right now.
Okay, yeah.
And the banner we were approved on. Mm-hmm. So we don't really overdo it with signs anymore since the banner's up.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, because I did, we have that later in the agenda.
Yeah.
But if we can incorporate that now since you're all here.
Telephone poles years ago, I said, I guess it's fine. Oh,
Does the board have any questions?
Were you interested in seeing the actual route or anything like that, or are we good there?
If you could just bring it up, that would be good. Just that way it'll be on TV when this gets
Is
brought.
it all right if I do a screen share?
Yes.
It just says that the share has been disabled.
Christina's on it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Try now.
So, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Oh, good. And this, you do have the approximate clear times. That's great.
And this was also worked with alongside the police department, which matches the timelines that they have had from historic data. But essentially, we'll have this clear at 6:50, about 10 minutes after the 5K starts. Then the route at this point will be clear at 6:20 because the 5K participants are still running along here. We'll actually clear this earlier at 6 because all the 10K participants will have cleared through here. And then at this point, 6:40, 7 o'clock, and then of course, by the end of the event, it's all clear here. And this is what we've worked alongside the police department on and Chief Reed, making sure that this aligned with their expectations, so they could use this as a forward-facing for residents or people inquiring about the impact and egress that's going to be needed to plan around the event going on.
And we will make sure that this gets posted on the website. So if people do have questions a day, of the rates, they can go to the town website and look for this. If there's no board questions, is there any questions from the public? Okay. All right. I think, and then I don't have any problem with the roadsides.
No, neither do I.
Yeah.
And you guys have the whole system of cleaning up the water stations and everything pretty much down.
Pretty much down, and the next morning, I'm usually out there for a couple of hours, making sure the town is back to
Yeah.
what it should be.
Yeah, and I know that in our discussion, we spoke to Highway about cleaning up all of the road barriers as the race is completing, so that there's really minimal to no cleanup the next day. So we'll see how that goes.
So later in this meeting, we will do a special meeting, and so we'll do the resolution for the signs, since
Okay.
they are already up. There's a little confusion, like there wasn't something that you historically had to do, and it was something new that we instituted last
Yeah,
year.
I appreciate it.
And then on Monday night, we have our town board meeting, and we will go ahead and approve the outdoor assembly permit.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brendan. Right, next in outdoor assembly applications, we have the Chamber of Commerce, and I think I saw Vanessa on. So Vanessa, you could show your video if you wish. You're muted.
Trying to unmute.
Okay,
There you go.
there.
Sorry about that. Trying to unmute. Hi.
Hi.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, do you want to just give us the overview of the event?
Yes, we will. We'll actually be running from 10 to 4 instead of 10 to 5 as we have in the past. So breakdown will be at 4 o'clock, and most vendors should be off the grounds by 5:30, which will be a little earlier than usual. And we are usually there as early as 6 a.m. There will be, I think, as usual, 3 barrels from the highway department the morning of, which also get collected that evening. And we'll have 3 porta potties with a wash station that also get picked up day of. We will be putting up the sign that we usually put between on Highway 114 between the church and the school side, which I have already talked to the church about. And the usual placement of signs along School Street and 114. I don't know if there's any other questions.
I just want to, when you're getting ready to put the banner up,
Mhm.
to coordinate with the town clerk's office, because we do have, the Historical Society wants to use the banner for a period of time, the 10K uses it for a period of time, so we just need to coordinate the put up
Yes.
and take downs to coincide with each of those events. I think there's time for everybody to have it up for a
Yes.
period of time.
Last year, it was just a week, so it was really just the week of, basically. So, okay, but I will let you, should I just email about that?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And then as far as the yard signs go, I hadn't put that on the agenda for later, but since we have you here, we can talk about those. When do you want to put those up?
That would also be, so the week prior.
Okay. Okay, all right. Because we have our town board meeting on Monday, so we can do resolutions for that approval next week then.
Okay, thank you.
Any other board questions?
No, it's pretty consistent with years past, and it's always been a well-run event, and I think PD and Highway are prepared to work with them, so I don't have any concerns.
Any questions from the public?
Is this about, excuse me,
Come on up.
is this about the craft fair?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes.
I just want to add that the Green Committee.
State your name for the record.
Oh, sorry. Jim Pertel, 5 Bluff Avenue, also Chair of the Green Options Committee. I just want to add that we are going to have our expo issue also on the same day. And if we need to do anything in terms of getting a permit, we just need to know that so we can do it.
Okay. On the map drawing that we have, it does look like there are vendor booths. So,
Probably in the same place where we were before.
yeah, so I don't
In
know.
that C area is usually where the Green Expo is.
Okay, all right, so you've incorporated that into your plan then?
Yes, we've been in touch. so-
Okay, perfect. Okay, I just wanted to make sure we didn't have any.
Okay, good, thank you.
Okay. Any other public comments? All right, then we will go ahead and get this on for next week's approvals.
Thank you.
Vanessa.
Thank you.
Next, we have music at Wade's Beach, and I think we've got Tom Helsing here to present on that. Yep, so if you could come on, Tom. Good morning. State your name for the record. So this year, I don't remember, we've got 4 dates, Wednesdays, July 8th, 22nd.
Every 2 weeks starting July 8th. And the reason for that is that we build in a rain date for the following week. So, if it's raining on the 8th, then we go to the 15th. And if it rains on the 15th, the event goes away. So we're not gonna extend it into Halloween.
Right. Okay, yeah. And it looks like your setup is the same location that you were last year, the bathhouse, the stage close in front of that. And I talked to Bethany, and she is actively working, Bethany from the Recreation Department, working on sponsors for the event.
Right, we've already got a couple of them lined up. We're endeavoring to get everything, paid up by July 1, which is maybe a little ambitious, but, we're getting there.
What is the time? What time does your music start? It's not on the,
The music starts at 4:30, ends at 7:30, approximately, not counting the 18 encores.
right.
So, and then, but we get there at noon to start to set up. And then we're usually out of there by 8 o'clock.
Okay. And it's free to the public. It's in coordination with the rec department, the town rec
Correct.
department.
Yeah.
Just so everybody knows.
Yeah, it's a town-sponsored event.
And I got to give a shout out to the highway department, and Ronnie's just, every time it's just perfect. Plenty of barrels, helps out with the tents and everything else, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you for that. Any questions from the public?
I have a question.
Okay.
Regarding fundraising, like for different, like let's say the Chamber of Commerce wants to put a table up, or the Tot Lot, wants to, not necessarily to raise funds, but to raise awareness for what's, being done on a town level. Would the board have any problem with that?
Thomas, do we have any legal concerns on that?
So it's town-sponsored event,
It's a town-sponsored event.
okay, and the people that would be putting up tables or fundraising off of it, are they,
There'd be private individuals for like raising money for the playground that we've been talking about.
Right.
Or going for grant monies for.
can I?
Yeah, you
Yes.
can look into it and get back.
Yes.
All right, I mean, it's a low impact thing, we're not gonna be walking around with cans with, asking for donations and everything, that's not what we're doing. It's just more or less to say, oh, yeah, this is what's happening, and maybe we'll donate some money to it. Other than that, I can't think of any issues.
Question.
Sure.
The
You
vendor,
could come up and, sorry, for the record,
hi, Kate Bussey-Smith. The vendor,
directed to the
the
board.
vendor sponsors, is that a tax deductible, considered a tax deductible donation?
It will depend on who's, for the,
I'm not asking for me.
for the
just
sponsors
for a friend.
of.
Yeah, the sponsors for the event.
I believe, I don't remember, if donations to municipalities are considered tax deductible. I'm not sure. Yeah.
That's another one we'll
I
find out.
can't remember if any clients ever.
Help in getting.
hope so.
Things like that, so I send them the resolution so they can put it in their records.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not limited to businesses, certainly, so, and everybody, business or not, that donates, gets their name on the banner, and it's there the whole, for the entire series, so. Yeah, we're on that.
Well, according to Google, yes, they are, but we'll get an official answer for you.
Well, that's very cool.
And if they're not for businesses, it's
That
advertising.
gives me some ammunition.
There you go.
Yeah.
Any questions? Okay, all right, we can put this on for Monday. All right, next on the agenda, we have graduation celebration, Ron Anderson.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Can I answer any questions?
I was gonna say, state your name for the record.
My name is Ron Anderson.
What we have in the application is Saturday, July 11th, the graduation celebration, I believe is what.
Exactly.
From, it says 4:30 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Basically, it's an old Indian style clam bake, and you gotta set the fire early in the morning of the event.
Goes all night long.
Heat the rock, yeah, it starts at 4:30 on, Saturday morning, early Saturday morning, and then we put the food on at like 9 on this hot stones. Take it off at 3, eat, clean up, and go home.
And then it also had setup the night before, and I'm just thinking like we're in the height of the summer season, so you've got.
Friday afternoon, yeah.
We're set up 9 AM to 5 PM on Friday.
Well, I'm allowing time to get things down to the parking lot area at least. But the stones, it's a granite circle you gotta set up down there. And, it's, 6 foot, 5 foot diameter, something like that. And it takes a while to do it. So, I'm planning on it being, say, 4:30 in the afternoon, Friday afternoon, when most of the crowd will be exiting the beach, I would hope. And we have a spot that I've selected numerous other times down there, to the right of the, or to the left of the bathhouse, if you're looking at the bathhouse. And away from the reeds and anything exposed to flame. We've done it probably 6, 8 times down there before and never had a problem. And of course, you can't remove the hot rocks that day, you gotta come back the next day. The next day is pretty pivotal to us. We'll mark off the area with cones, to make sure nobody gets into it and remove the rocks and debris the next morning.
And my recommendation would be for Friday to start like later in the day for setting up, like set up like
Exactly.
after 5 o'clock, like 5
Exactly.
PM on when beach is minimally
Right,
used.
when most people are gone.
Right, yeah.
Benjamin, you have-
Where exactly is the fire set up?
About 15 feet, 20 feet off the grass line. On the
Next-
beach, we dig
Next to
a,
the bathrooms.
if you're looking at the bathroom to the left of the bathroom, maybe 50, 60 feet away,
Okay.
away from the bathroom area.
Yeah, Christina's going to pull up the diagram.
There's a little cut in the grass line there that we've always kind of lined up to. I don't know if you can see it from that picture, but
Oh, yeah.
so it's
Okay,
kind of away from the public,
great.
all right? And a couple of tents and maybe a couple of picnic tables if they're available.
Okay, got it.
And it's not as far down as where.
No, not
The
way
boats.
down, but because you got to transfer everything down there.
Yeah.
Hmm. Okay.
Any other board questions?
No, I don't have any.
We've got expected number of people, 80.
I have secured insurance from State Farm for the day and the day after in case of the rain event, because of the rain day the next day. And they've insured this for $1 million, $2 million aggregate, if you want that. But I'm having them send that electronically to the secretary here.
Thomas, do you think that the insurance should cover the cleanup day as well?
Probably ask that question of our insurance broker, town's insurance broker.
Well, I understood the deposit of $100 non-refundable was to cover any damages left behind. So would that answer your question?
Well, just, I don't know, if someone, the crew that's coming to clean up, if somebody gets hurt, it's just a question. Yeah, I'm not sure there's a big risk there, but
Well, it's only members of my immediate family that are really setting up and cleaning up. There's no strange, personnel involved.
all right, like I said, there's not a huge risk there. It's more when the 80 kids come down. That's
Yeah, well, 80 is a figure that I could see happening, but I think it's more gonna be like 60. And not that many kids. My daughter's friends with maybe, 8 girls that will show up, so
okay.
it's really not gonna be that big. I just wanna plan for the biggest if it doesn't get there.
And I just want to confirm that this is like a family event. You're not having it
Yeah,
catered.
no.
It's not a business. We're not doing.
We used to do them every other year, every 2 or 3 years, and this is sort of like a final hurrah. She just graduated from college in UMass, and she asked me to do one for her, and I'm kind of out of that zone. This age it's not conducive to all that work, but I said, I'll do it for you. So this is the last one for us.
Right.
Sounds good to me.
Any questions from the public?
Yeah, Amber, just to affirm what Councilwoman Lawson had said was, we normally don't, Ron has done this a couple times for specific family things, and Ron has been zero problems. I fully support it. But I just want to be clear with other commercial enterprises and things on our beaches that this isn't something that we normally allow during this time of year.
Mhm. Yes.
But we do make exceptions for one-shot family events, those kind of things, because as you know, this can lead into other enterprises wanting to use that space.
Mhm.
Right.
Congratulations, Rob.
Well, I appreciate your confidence. Thank you very much.
Good. We can put this on for Monday.
We good?
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. Next on the agenda, we have a draft of the wireless communications master plan, and we have Susan Rabold here from our consultants who've been working on this. And
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me on the meeting agenda this morning. Also from Cityscape is Elizabeth Harrington Smith. So we're here today, and I will share my screen. Let's see. To get started. There we go. I'm all enabled. Great. Can you see my screen all right?
Yes, we can.
There we go. I bet you can see it better now.
Yes.
So just a little rundown about Cityscape Consultants. This is a company that works strictly for local government nationwide on the issues and concerns and public policies related to wireless telecommunications. The project team includes engineering, legal, and planning professionals, and they have been working with local government since the late 1990s. This particular project is a for-community endeavor that is what we call the North Fork Group, and it includes the communities of Shelter Island, North Haven, Sag Harbor, and South Hold. Greenport Village and Village of Daring Harbor are accepted, although their jurisdictional boundaries are shown on the maps, but they were not part of this particular contract that we have with each of the four communities that I mentioned. And the project takes into consideration the individual community characteristics of each community, the actual infrastructure for wireless telecommunications that services each jurisdiction. We do an assessment of those sites. We map the sites, we show you your gaps, and then we put together the master plan. Excuse me. So just to be very clear, this is wireless telecommunications. This is not about broadband or wired services. So when we talk about wireless, we're talking about your cell phones. And a lot has happened in the industry from first generation to 5G and really what they're preparing for, which is 6G and beyond, with regards to speed and capacity of the network in order to maximize and provide seamless coverage and connectivity. Most of your wireless communications, when it was first launched, was these antennas, what we call macro cells. They're the backbone of the wireless network. They have typically been mounted on towers, and they serve large areas and handle great capacity. However, as more and more people use and transition to their cell phones as their primary source of communications and add other features and other devices to their subscriptions, such as tablets and smartwatches and other smart devices, the capacity of that network shrinks. And the only way you can improve the capacity is to either add more macro cells or small wireless facilities which are substantially more, they're smaller in size compared to the macro tower. They also serve a much smaller geographic area. So for example, this macro cell that are pretty typical, you would see these maybe a mile to 3 miles apart, depending on the community characteristics, whether it's more densely populated or whether it's very rural. And in more densified communities or along major traffic corridors, we see, or in areas that are very hard to get zoning, we see these small wireless facilities go in. And these areas cover from, well, I was recently in New Orleans and they were almost on every corner, which was barely 400 feet apart. And their geographic area can cover up to 3/4 of a mile, but generally they're between 300 and 600 feet that they provide coverage for. So taking a closer look at the antennas that are on these macro cells and the type of other infrastructure that you might be accustomed to seeing are these panel antennas. These small boxes are actually remote radio units, and they help to boost power to these signals. It was something the industry added a number of years ago to their panel antennas to increase power and cover and increase capacity. You may also see these round microwave dishes where fiber is maybe not available. These help with getting more signal out, and you also have public safety that go on towers, and they are typically these omni type looking antennas. The ground equipment is necessary for those antennas above ground to work. And those above ground antennas need to be above the ambient tree height. They cannot be blocked by buildings or terrain in order to communicate effectively. And for those to communicate effectively, you have to have the ground equipment. The low frequency antennas or antennas that operate in the low frequency spectrum need a much larger ground space, equipment cabinet or shelter to accommodate the heat that's generated. The higher frequency antennas use a much smaller ground space footprint. A lot of the industry is now using a combination of low and high frequency. It used to be that they either operated in low or high, but now they use a blend of frequencies to accommodate their network planning. The macro cells are typically mounted on towers that could either be a monopole, which is this tall looking utility pole. This is a self-support lattice tower with the crisscross brackets. And then the guide tower is not a freestanding tower because it's supported by these guy wires. The guide tower uses the largest amount of land for the footprint, and these two towers use less ground space. Now, the macro cell towers can be concealed. We've seen them concealed in faux or actually working clock towers. They can be surrounded by fiberglass shields that can have any kind of emblem or city seal on them, or just be plain, or they could be painted. And then we've seen some good examples of some monopines, which are a faux tree. And this happens to be one that we think is a pretty good example because it has a lot of densification of faux branches throughout the shaft of the monopine. Now, when the wireless antenna go on a structure that is not a tower, it's called a base station. So water tanks are referred to as base stations. And you can see water, this one is in these, let's see, this particular water tank is in East Hampton. And you can see the antenna mounted, and they've been painted to match the color of the water tank. This particular water tank is in the village of Greenport. And you can see the antenna up here at the top. And these are antennas that are mounted on top of a rooftop. So these are all non-towers, and so they're called base stations. The base stations can also be concealed or semi-concealed. And these, again, are examples in East Hampton where these antennas have been painted to match the facade of the building. You also have a faux facade extended here around the antennas. At this religious institution, this is a faux dormer, and the antenna are behind here. And this is the extension on this rooftop. This is a faux extension with the antenna behind the panels there. Now, the small wireless facilities, by definition, cannot exceed 3 cubic feet in volume. Their definition is that they are generally 50 feet or less in height. Although, if you have, excuse me, if you have existing utility poles in your rights of ways that are taller than 50 feet, then they are allowed to extend 10 feet above that elevation of what you have in your current right of way. Because these utility poles typically, these structures typically go on utility poles or on new utility poles in the right of way. So you can see these antennas are much smaller than the ones I showed you previously. Their remote units, remote radio heads and meters are typically also put on the utility pole. These are some examples of existing sites in the New York Department of Transportation right-of-way along the highway in the town of East Hampton. So you can see that they don't all look the same. Some have these panel antennas, and some have what they call a can antenna. It looks like a can on top of the pole. These are more examples. And what we have also seen is that because they transmit such a small area to a small area, we see that different providers who want to service the same area will start putting up additional poles, sometimes right next to another one. So like, for example, this might be AT&T's pole, and this might be Verizon's pole or vice versa. But because they don't typically share the pole, you end up having multiple poles in the same right of way to enhance coverage for that particular network. The ground equipment at the base of the tower or on the tower is also much smaller. These show you some ground space or ground-based antenna support facilities. And if they're not mounted on a tower, they are in the right of way, typically next to the tower. We've seen them in a rectangular shape and some in a square shape. The small wireless facilities can also be somewhat concealed. These images contain all of the remote radio units and all of the cabling that goes to the antenna inside the pole or buried next to the pole in a vault. The poles that are built can have operating light fixtures. Some communities choose to have non-operation light fixtures, but they have the lights for decorative purposes, but the lights don't get turned on so that they don't have a lot of increased light in residential areas. But there are a lot of design options with these small wireless facilities. You can see there's different bases, then there's different size diameters of the poles, different lighting fixtures, different tops. These are just to sort of let your imagination go with, you know, what these facilities could look like in the future if you get small wireless facilities on the island. So I'm going to move now into the infrastructure survey that we did. Well, let me pause and ask, do you have any questions about the wireless network and how it works and what it looks like?
No.
Okay, so we start our project with Shelter Island by going and visiting each of your existing towers and wireless facilities. Your study area, however, extends a mile around the island. And actually, we found that some of these sites over here in Greenport and in Southold do have an influence on the coverage and capacity along the shoreline. So we did include these even though they were outside the 1 mile perimeter. And within your perimeter or within your jurisdictional boundary, you have 3 wireless facilities. They are all towers. And then outside, you have 5 sites that are actually providing some coverage to Shelter Island, like I said, from off-island locations. All of your towers are macro cells. You don't have any small wireless facilities on the island or within your 1 mile perimeter at this time. And 2 of your facilities are used for public safety and macro cell sites. And you have 1 site on the island that is just for public safety. These are the images of your 4 facilities that are on the island. You have, we call this site Shelter Island 01, SI01. This is at the Potato Barn at the Volunteer Fire Department. It is a concealed facility, so you don't see the antenna and the coax. They're internal to the shaft. This particular facility, SIO2, is at the Solid Waste Management Recycling Center, and it's a macro cell and public safety site as well, and it has multiple tenants on it, and it's not concealed, so you see those antennas. At SIO3 at the fire department, you have a public safety only wireless facility. And you also have the police tower, which is a much shorter facility on a much smaller piece of property. So we did not map this particular site because we wanted to focus on these 3 since they are the ones that have macro cells on them or could potentially accommodate macro cells or had room on the property to accommodate future macro cells. And the police department tower is a very small site, and we didn't see that there was really any room for an additional facility, so we did not map that one. But you do have that 4th facility on the island. So once we have looked at each of these sites and we've looked at the community characteristics around the area, we then get into mapping the theoretical coverage from these properties and then show you potential solutions on how to improve your wireless connectivity. We use a color gradation of yellow to blue to show signal strength. So, for example, areas that are the closest to the wireless antenna have yellow coverage, meaning that these areas have indoor and outdoor coverage, provided the person's subscriber provider is on that structure. So, for example, at SIO1, AT&T is on that tower. And so if you have an AT&T subscription, you would likely have this type of coverage. However, if your provider is not on this tower, you might not have any coverage at all. So we do these maps assuming that since the tower's there, all providers could go at that site. And if all the providers were on that site, this is the general coverage footprint that you would expect. Areas in green are where the signal is strong enough, perhaps in the vehicle and outside, but not necessarily strong enough for indoor coverage. The areas in blue are predominantly outside and perhaps in vehicle, but really not indoor. And then the areas where there is no coverage at all, those are your obvious gap areas. So we show the coverage from your 2 towers that have existing personal wireless service facilities on them. The fire station site is not shown because it does not have any other equipment other than public safety on it. Next, we want to get an idea of what the in-building coverage might look like. So each of these dots represent an address point. And this really helps us to zero in and see where you may have coverage that needs improvement, because so many people are moving from their landlines to their handheld cell phones. If you had an emergency in some of these areas and they don't have a landline, if they don't have in-building coverage, then they may be restricted to just outdoor coverage, and that might be a barrier to connectivity for a public safety call. And we also find that even though you might be in an area where there's a lot of yellow, you may still have address points that show up as green or blue or black. And the reason for that is terrain, or it could be extensive tree canopy. And so this helps us see not only from a flat surface, but from a multidimensional view, what's going on at these address points. So in planning for new wireless infrastructure, we start with looking at your existing policy. And we find that in your comprehensive plan update, you have goal 10-6 that specifically pertains to improvement for broadband and cellular services to the community, which is awesome. It's really great that you included this in your comprehensive plan update, because it helps to guide the community on being proactive on regulating future wireless infrastructure. Your town code is also very proactive in regulating, and you have a preferred placement list in your code that identifies the location of future sites, primarily to go on existing publicly owned property. And then to look at using public utility structures, such as utility poles and water towers, water tanks. So with this in mind, when we looked at these gap areas on this previous map, we first got a list of your town-owned properties. We started with a list of 142 sites. However, a lot of those are in the Community Preservation Fund and were not acceptable because of that designation to be used for new tower sites. So that reduced the number of town-owned properties from 142 to 62 town-owned sites. So the next layer that we looked at was environmental and community characteristics around those 62 sites. We removed properties that were in flood zones or were in large part wetland lands, or that were close to the existing towers and not in the gap areas. And we ended up with 19 properties that could potentially be used. And from those 19 properties, we did a deeper dive and we came up with 4 properties that would help identify or would help fill in these areas. So these were some of the sites that we looked at and vetted by size, land use, historic places, deed restrictions, access, and environmental conditions. And what we came up with were 2 scenarios whereby adding a new 120-foot tower at these 3 general locations would help improve the outdoor and in-building coverage significantly. PM01, which we can call potential. And I just want to reiterate at this point, Cityscape does not own towers. We do not build towers. We do not sell towers. We only plan and help you get information so that you can proactively plan for the industry to come in. We're not hired by the industry to come and find sites for them. So this is information for you to have so that you can be forward thinking about how to improve your wireless connectivity. So PM01 is the golf course. It's a 42-acre parcel, and really any type of facility around 120 feet tall in this area would help improve the in-building coverage in this geographic area. And then PM02 is over here on the east side of the island. This is a 1.3 acre parcel that is wooded that would help improve connectivity in this, excuse me, in this area of the island. And then PM03 is a vacant parcel on Heritage Drive. Now, scenario number 2 utilizes PM01 and PM02, but changes out PM03 with PM04, which is farther to the south. And it's also vacant land, and it's on Osprey Road. So to sort of give you some visuals about where these properties are and what they look like, this is a visual into the golf course for PM01. Again, anywhere in this on the course or, would work. PM02 is a wooded area. PM03 is a wooded area, and PM04 is also a wooded area. This map shows you the address point, the potential address point improvement. Right now, you have 1,679 address points that show pretty good in-building coverage and 68 address points that have poor or no in-building coverage. Scenario 1 would reduce that number to 1, and scenario 2 would also reduce that number to 1. Scenario 1 and scenario 2 are very similar. The properties are kind of close to each other, and the results are somewhat the same. So our next step is to put this out to the community. And so we have prepared a poll and survey for the community to participate in, whereby we show these maps, we show different types of infrastructure, we show the locations of these properties, and we ask that the community tell us which sites they would prefer most for infrastructure or not at all, and what type of infrastructure on those properties might be acceptable by the community. And if you were to use the small wireless facilities in the rights of ways, what would you want them to look like? And I want to just mention that with regards to the small wireless facilities, the federal law has changed to where you have to allow them in your right of way. And your code right now doesn't address small wireless facilities in the rights of ways, but your code does prioritize using publicly owned land. So that was the route that we went in showing you the use of those sites. If you wanted to try and provide equal or similar coverage of small wireless facilities only for those 3 macro cell sites that we're showing you, you would end up with probably 20 to 30 small wireless facilities to compensate for removing those macros and putting in small. So, but we have that question in the poll to see if community would prefer the small wireless facilities over the macro cells. So after this, I'm sure the poll will be launched. We've provided a QR code and a web link to the poll, which you can start participating in the poll now or as soon as it's shared. And then our next presentation will be to provide you the results of that poll and a final document for your wireless master plan. That was a lot of information. Do you have any questions?
Any questions from the audience person? Anyone on Zoom? Yes, town board
No,
members?
I don't have any questions.
The plan would be to launch the survey this afternoon. So we would get it up on our website, push it out on social media. And then Susan, you recommend running it for 2 weeks?
Yes, a minimum of 2 weeks and really not more than 3.
Okay. So we'd get that started today and then give Cityscape an opportunity to collate all of the results and come back to us in, 3 to 4 weeks to present the results of the survey and what we want to do.
Well, one question is, okay, we do the survey, it comes back and says, yeah, let's build the 3 that are suggested. Do we then go to the cell phone companies to rally them to get these built and paid for? Or is this something the town's supposed to pay for?
Oh, no, the town doesn't pay for these sites. What we would recommend for your consideration is if, and this is all, speculative, if the town supports, let's hypothetically say they support scenario number 1, then we would recommend that you go and amend your code to actually list those 3 properties in your code as preferred locations, because they would have been vetted by the community. You would have a design type that you would like to see on that site. And then when they come in and they look at your code, they already know, oh, okay, these are sites that they want us to focus on for our new facility. And then that, if they wanted to do something different than that, they would have to come in and demonstrate why those 3 sites, one of those sites wouldn't work. But these sites are built by the industry. And similarly to what you had on the public waste facility property, is that they would pay you rent. And I think, so you're familiar with that model, you've done that model before. So this would be very similar to that model.
We also have to go through, as a town board, the special permitting process for cell towers. I recall when the fire district erected the tower on Cobbitts Lane, it had to go through that process. And maybe also site plan review.
I think so. Yeah, check.
Yeah. So there's a few steps before we'd actually get to allowing somebody to build something.
But I will tell you this, the industry is watching. They know about this project. They are anxious to see how the communities, the direction that the communities would like to go. We're seeing a lot of activity Cityscape's seeing a lot of activity in Southold and in Sag Harbor, both from macro cell and small wireless facility development. And Cityscape's received a lot of phone calls from the industry about what North Haven's going to do. And so, I know that they're watching you from the north and from the south to see how this plan materializes and progresses.
Okay. Any other questions? Yep.
I'm Julie Brennan. I live at 57 Peconic, where I look at a giant cell tower in Bridgehampton. It doesn't provide me with cell service all summer long, which is very frustrating. So while I'm a fan of enhancing cell coverage on Shelter Island, the consultant said, if I am not mistaken, that a poll would be sufficient to have gotten public vetting in order for you to change your code. That can't be true.
No, it'll inform us as to how we want to move forward with changing the code. Then the code change would have public hearings associated with it. And then if we were to move forward with trying to construct a cell tower, there'd be a special permit and site plan review as well.
Thank you
Also
very much for
public
that
vetting. So,
additional explanation.
yes.
It's going to be based on.
Right, no,
Okay,
yes,
thank you.
exactly, yeah. Anyone else? All right, we will get this poll on the survey launched later today, and we invite everybody to weigh in. The more information we can get, the better. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And again, Amber, you point people to where the survey is going to be.
Yeah, we'll have it on the front page of the town website. It'll be on Facebook, Instagram as well. And maybe some flyers in town with the QR code.
Right.
And we'll keep bringing it up at the next couple of town board work sessions. All right, thank you. Next, we have building permit applications. And the first one that we have is Jonathan Bang, who I believe is on, yes, from the New York Times. And this one is for, well, I guess actually originally it was going to be for June 8th, June 9th, but you did send a request yesterday to change the dates. But if you would tell us a little bit about it, please.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. I'm Jonathan Bang with New York Times Cooking, joined with my production coordinator, Gina Fernandez, who's also on the call. Thank you for having us today. A little background on the application we submitted. It's a small documentary style video centered around recreational clamming at Crab Creek, joined with our food writer, Melissa Clark, with an educational focus on responsible shellfishing and cooking a recipe with the freshly harvested clams. Our crew footprint is small, 7 people with small handheld cameras and mobile audio gear. And we're planning to film around 2 to 3 hours around the low tide period.
Okay. You also noted that there was going to be a cooking segment at a nearby private residence, but that location was not disclosed. Have you settled on that or spoken to somebody?
Yes. Let me see if I can share my screen really quick. Okay. So the private residence is on Crab Creek Road, 4 Crab Creek Road to be more specific. The entryway to the crab location, the clamming location, is down Peconic Avenue through a public access point right around here. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
So it'll be around here for Crab Creek Road, and then we'll walk to the location to go clamming for about 2 to 3 hours around low tide.
Okay, and what we had a different location.
Yeah, that one, that's an old location. This is the most up to date, the one on Peconic Avenue.
Off the town landing.
So it's the end of Peconic Avenue at the town landing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go look there. Just because the other location was on Silver Beach Association property. I'm just making sure that's town property and not private property.
Okay.
At the end of Peconic there?
Yes.
Yeah, because we've seeded clams in there.
Yeah.
It's not very careful, you're giving away the clamming spells.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And then you've changed the dates to, is it June 15th? Those were my questions. Any board member questions?
Yeah, just make sure that the person doing the clamming actually has their clamming permit. So
Yes.
they can come into town hall and get it. And then do you have an idea how many clams you're looking to harvest?
I believe the clamming limits are 100, but we would be using much less than that. I'm assuming around 30. It's a white clam pasta recipe, so it shouldn't be using too many clams.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
And then I think also for the filming of the private residence, just if we could get a letter from them to know that you have permission to be there.
Okay.
There's no other board questions. I'll open it up to the public. Anyone online? Okay, we're going to take this, we had this initially for approval on today's special meeting, but because it's a changed location, and I'd like to see the address of the private residence incorporated plus a letter granting permission, we're going to pull it from today and put it on for Monday, which still is ahead of the event. Okay. There's no one else, then we'll move on to the next agenda item. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Gray Marlin.
Hi, good morning. I'm here for Gray Malin.
Hi, Carolina. Saying that correctly?
Yes, Carolina.
Carolina. If you want to just tell us a little bit about this application.
Yes, so Gray Malin is a photographer, and we're doing a Hamptons photo shoot across the different towns. He's shot in the Hamptons before about 8 years ago, but it was an aerial photography, which is what he's known for. He shot out of a helicopter and did some of the overhead shots of the beaches in the Hamptons. But this year we wanted to come back and do an on the ground shoot. We're looking to just capture one photo on Shelter Island Beach, Sunset Beach, where the Sunset Hotel is. It's just one photo. There's no actual recording or filming that would be happening, and it's a 4-person crew. It's very quick. We'd be there maybe 1 hour total, and we just wanted to capture one photo on the beach.
You didn't submit anything that had like the location itself. Is it directly across from the hotel?
Yes, it's directly across from the hotel. I spoke with the general manager, and he said we could borrow a couple chairs and an umbrella for the photo.
Okay. And you're gonna have dogs in the photo shoot?
Yes, so they're trained dogs. They're, I guess, what we refer to as working dogs. So during the pandemic, he started photographing dogs versus humans because models weren't available, obviously. And the dog photography is now one of his most popular series. And so it would be 3 dogs that are laying each one on a chair, basically under the umbrella. And they are trained dogs, and we'll have a dog trainer, their dog trainer there with them.
Okay. So what we need to do is give an exception to the no dogs on the beach rule. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Because Memorial Day to Labor Day is no dogs on the beach.
Yes.
And then I see that you have 2 personal vehicles that'll be there. So the other thing is you'll need beach stickers for the day so you can park.
Okay, I'll confirm that with Gray. We were gonna take the ferry over, so I don't actually think we're gonna have vehicles.
You'll
You'll
need
need,
to get there.
yeah.
Oh,
It's not a
okay.
short walk,
Okay,
further than it
Okay.
looks.
good to know. The one thing that we were hoping I wanted to ask today is we're a really small company. We're less than 10 people, and we're only going to be there an hour. When I called about a month or so ago about the permitting process, I didn't learn at the time that this had to be submitted 30 days in advance. I was told that as long as it was before the weekly meeting, it would be fine. And so we were hoping if the rush fee could be waived, just because we didn't know about it. And this is a relatively simple photo in that sense. We won't be there very long.
Not inclined to waive it, just because we did last year, we changed it from 14 to 30 days, just because we do have to scramble, and we did have to scramble on pulling in highway to make sure they're okay with it, PEP, they're okay with it, the town clerk's office, the town board, like just all, like the review process, it reprioritizes what we are doing on a daily basis. So we try and encourage people to get their applications in earlier, and it is on the application as well as on the town website.
Okay. Okay, I will then, I guess I'll just speak to Gray about just the financial aspect of it, because we may not move forward, just because it's for one photo, the whole cost may not make sense for the business in that sense, but I will speak to him right after this call.
Yeah, I mean, that's my opinion of how the rest of the board feels.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. It's kind of what it is now.
Yeah, you mean not
Yeah,
keeping it a rush.
where we are, yeah.
Benjamin? You're mute.
Yeah, I agree. It kind of is what it is. So I would stick with it.
And we're trying to encourage people to give us some forewarning, so.
Yes, I understand.
Okay. I do believe, because this is supposed to happen on Monday, we will after this meeting go into our special meeting, so we will approve it, pending receipt of fees and things like that, so.
Okay, thank you.
You won't be held up. Okay, if the public doesn't have any questions? Okay. Thank you, Carolina.
Thank you, bye.
Bye. Bye. Okay, sign requests. Shelter Island History Museum. We had started to talk about this a number of weeks ago, but we were trying to figure out placement. So I don't know if Nanette, you want to come up and just speak to where we landed in your conversations with
Nanette Lawrenson. We landed after consulting with police department, with highway department, Heights, that we would like to have the banner installed across the street from the Presbyterian Church, with a 10K banner. It's the same location, same size banner.
And what's the date of the event that you're planning?
July 18th.
July 18th.
And the banner itself, it's an image, would basically be our logo, the name of the event, red, white, and blue, and the date. That's about it. Okay.
Right, that timing kind of works out perfectly, because we can do the 10K banner, you can do your banner, and then we can do the Chamber of Commerce banner.
I think it'll work just, it'll be perfect, it'll work
Yes.
just right.
Yes.
So, but I do have a question, like, who do we communicate with about the actual install and take down and?
I actually don't know the answer to that question. Ken?
Hi, come on, I didn't see you hiding there.
Communicate with me.
Just,
Okay,
okay,
talk
all
to
right,
Ken.
thank you.
Yes, okay. All right, perfect. Okay.
So we're good with that.
Yeah.
We're good with that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Great, awesome.
Any other questions from anyone? Town board, audience?
No.
We're good. Okay, all right, thank you.
You're good.
All right, we had already talked about the 10K road signs at the earlier part of the meeting, so I think we're good there.
Yep.
And the WAC, Know Your Water Weekend, I understand you've got the information on that.
Yes, I do. So the Water Advisory Committee, it's a town committee, is working on an information and outreach weekend about knowing your water, getting your water tested, just promoting people's understanding of our groundwater and how it works, and how our wells work, and So what they would like to do, the Know Your Water weekend is the weekend of July 25th. And what they'd like to do is place some signs around town, approximately 12 signs, and they gave us a list of the locations. One is by South Ferry, one is by South Ferry and North Cartwright by the Circle, one is South Ferry and School Street by the Circle, one on the corner of like the IGA, West Neck North Ferry Road, like, so they gave us a list for 12 signs. And the signs just say, know your water, test your well, and it has a QR code that leads you to an informational page on the town website, just sharing information about your well water, how you can get it tested. And it's part of their ongoing education program. And so they're asking permission to put up the 12 signs around town. And they're going to talk to local businesses to get permission to put them in front of properties there and things like that. Flyers and windows, that kind of thing.
It's a good thing.
Yes, yes, it is. Actually.
All for.
Yes, me too. One thing is we're approving a lot of signage in the last few weeks. And it just makes me a little nervous because I hate to see the signs when we've gone through, you know, a nice period of time where we've had no signs. I think one of the things we should start to try and convey to people making these requests is to keep as little, like, keep it to the basic information, like event, date, time, maybe a QR code. Because I know some of the signs as you're passing by, they're hard to read. And so, like, if we're gonna have the signage, like, let's make it readable without causing accidents.
Yeah. Yeah, the QR code is a little troubling because if you're driving and you're supposed to stop and scan a QR code.
True. Although it's an intersection, but I mean, at least, like, if we can keep the visual to minimal information, at least it affords an opportunity to get the more information.
And I assume we also add a restriction on how long the sign can stay up after the event, you know,
Yes.
24 hours.
Yes, yes, exactly.
The request is for the 2 weeks leading up to the event, and then it'll come down after the event.
Okay.
Good. Yeah, we may want to also think about that, like, starting to put time limits when they can be put up so that we don't have so many.
Yeah. I think we've been around 2 weeks, giving people 2 weeks.
Yeah. Okay. Alrighty, so we'll put that on for Monday. Yeah.
Okay.
And then the Chamber of Commerce in their application, they had asked for yard signs too, so we'll include that into the banner and the yard signs. Okay. All right. Next on, I'm sorry, come on up, Tim.
Just very quick
Sorry.
question on signs.
Mhm.
So for the Green Expo in the past, I've always put up road signs, so going forward, do I need to come to the town board?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, so just,
like how far in advance?
the sooner the better, and then we can get,
Okay.
because we, you know, work sessions are, I mean, town board meetings are every 3 weeks, so like, obviously it won't be for this week, so June 29th is our next town board meeting, so if you want.
But,
Yeah, so
you want
something,
to know number of signs and locations?
roughly.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not that specific, but, and if there's any issues, Ken Lewis, Highway Superintendent, will let you know if
Okay.
some are in bad
Good to
locations.
know. Okay.
I can share the list that we got from Water Advisory Committee with you.
Okay.
It might be easy to just.
Okay. Yeah, good. Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Good, thanks. All right, if there's no further questions on that, we'll go on to the Cornell Cooperative Extension Marine Program. State your name for the record, Kate.
Kate Rossi Snook, Cornell Cooperative Extension Marine Program.
We got your letter, and the ask is permission to access underwater lands for the purposes of deploying cured recycled shell material as part of a trial for improving subtidal and intertidal substrate for passive oyster reef restoration. So,
You want me to?
in English.
I like it. Yes. So actually, this is very exciting. So just to be clear first, this is just for permission. It's just part of the DEC permitting process. We may not even need a permit for putting down this blank shell, which I'll explain in a minute, but I'm just kind of covering all the bases. So this is actually part of now a broader project. The Southampton Town Trustees asked us to investigate putting down blank recycled shell versus our spat on shell, our baby oysters set on shell, and to see in certain areas if it's enough to just put down the blank shell to improve the substrate, the bottom, if there's already existing oyster populations, and maybe it's just too mucky for the wilds spawning to set, maybe we could just put down the shell and it could be enough to passively build up oyster reefs. So we're doing a few, like 3 sites within Southampton waters and then also in Monantic Creek. And we're gonna be comparing, it's gonna be actually a proper study of health. So yeah, the concept, like I said, normally for our oyster reef restoration, we would put down, typically a pilot planting would be 15 cubic feet of recycled shell with the spat, the baby oysters attached to it. So for this comparison study, we're going to be doing, at least for the Southampton sites, just full information, we're gonna be doing 15 cubic feet of loose recycled shell, cured, meaning out in the elements for a year for DEC regulations. So 15 cubic feet of shell loosely put down, like we would normally just do our reef plantings with community members. And then adjacent, we are gonna be doing 15 cubic feet of the recycled shell in biodegradable mesh bags to see if, also compare whether it makes a difference loose versus in bags. I'm not sure about our Monantic Creek site having the biodegradable bags because technically Southampton trustees purchased that material and I still need to convince them to donate some for this site. I feel like they will as part of that bigger study, greater good kind of a thing. So yeah, I actually got in the water at Monantic Creek yesterday. It was really encouraging. Every time I go in there, I'm pleasantly surprised because I keep expecting it, especially our original little reef site that we planted only 2 years ago. It was like the end of August 2024, way up at the head of Monantic Creek on the left if you're facing north. It's very mucky there, but and when I first snorkeled on that original reef site, I couldn't see the oysters because there was actually this incredible mat of early season ulva sea lettuce macroalgae. But once I just parted the mat, you could see all these oysters were thriving despite the mud, despite the macroalgae. Most of them that I brought up were like this big, so like 100 millimeters, give or take, which is crazy for just not even 2 years, right? It's a year and a half. So they're thriving. Went down to the other site where I'm gonna be doing my blank shell location, and that is looking very promising. And then also part of this map that I shared with my letter, and I kind of put in additional wording in the letter, so it's not just the blank shell study, but kind of also covering continued reef restoration, shellfish restoration, just kind of a blanket permission to let me do my thing. But this last site, so the Monantic Creek Keepers successfully raised funds to sponsor a second oyster reef restoration, like pilot reef in Monantic, but lower down. I had identified a possible site, just kind of hearing from community members where they think they would be good. Yesterday got my face in the water, and I believe the map identifies the point at which the creek kind of narrows, but there's actually a little bit of a, I guess, cove-ish, if you could call it that, so small though it's on the north side of that point is actually really looks super promising for a very successful reef restoration, wanting to put down, that would be the spat on shell, as opposed to the blank shell. And yeah.
Can I do a screen share? Yeah. Just so that way we can get a visual.
Yeah.
Everybody else.
says, new reef site TDD. You can zoom in there, so, can't zoom in now.
I'm not good at zooming.
Okay, that's weird. Anyway, just on the inside of that point, I actually saw a one wild set oyster, like large wild set oyster, which is another sign that it could be a great spot if they're already existing. Not too mucky down there. It's like almost like completely different creek system compared to like that upper reef site and this new site that I'm proposing. So that will also be an interesting comparison to see how they grow. So basically that's it. Just looking to get permission to keep working to restore oyster populations.
I know that the Mananic Creek Keepers are very excited about these projects.
Yes.
And I think that the blank shell trial will be very interesting because there are a lot of homeowners who do have oyster cages and they're,
Part of the SPAT program,
Right.
yeah, which the DEC specifically said they would love to see me target these areas where you have community SPAT members, like clusters of these, their oysters are likely spawning, so just offering the appropriate substrate could be enough.
Yeah, and I can see how the very silty, organic, sludgy stuff would not allow the oysters to actually settle somewhere they could grow. Instead, they'll just sink and sort of get suffocated in the mud. So I think giving them the opportunity to have something to grow on, it has potential. So I think it's exciting.
Does anyone have any questions? Good.
Okay.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Get this on for a resolution and then we can issue a letter for your DEC permit. The next item on the agenda, just looking at Joe, is the Fresh Pond Solitude Lake Management. And I'll let Joe speak to this one. Joe is available. You're muted. And it's possible he stepped away for a moment. Anyways, I can speak to it. Every year for the past couple of years, Fresh Pond Neighbors Association has, or is the Fresh Pond? Yeah, Fresh Pond Neighbors Association has paid for this aquatic weed harvester service that cuts down and collects the nuisance growth. And so we have in hand a copy of an agreement to do the same for this year. I believe it would happen sometime in mid to late July, and the cost would be up to $15,000. We have a letter from the Fresh Pond Neighbors Association that says that they would cover the cost of this. And so I'd like to put on for resolution what we've done every year, which is, allow me to sign the contract and then also recognizes the reimbursement by the Fresh Pond Neighbors Association. Joe, now that I've covered the basics about the authorizing the contract and the reimbursement, but if you want to talk about how the harvesting has gone the past couple of years.
Yes.
And why we want to continue doing it.
Yes. So then you covered, I'm sure, that the cost of this project is through the reimbursed from the Fresh Pond Neighbors Association. They provided a letter of commitment, as they've done in the past, to reimburse the town for those expenses. The contract directly between the town and the contractor for the work. It's the same contractor that we've used now for 3 years in a row. And the concept is fairly simple. These different vegetative species absorb nutrients from the bottom, the same nutrients that are in overabundance in the pond. By harvesting them and removing them from the pond system, we're taking those nutrients with them. And so we're helping to lower the overall concentration of those nutrients in the pond system. The vegetation also tends to be of a few harmful species. So if you come in contact with them while you're swimming, they can cause irritation or allergic reactions. So there's the public access and safety angle to it. And then they also tend to congregate in the area right by the public access point at the end of Fresh Pond Road. So they can irritate you, and they also happen to be in the area where most people would come in contact with them. So we take the material to the dump, and it's mixed in with our other organic items, so it doesn't require any specialized treatment or decomposition procedure, and it gets worked in with other topsoil products that are available to the public over at the town's recycling center.
Any questions?
No, it's pretty cool to watch because it's like a floating thresher,
Mhm.
so it's fun.
It's a weird looking
It's
machine.
weird, I like it.
It's not noisy. It just has a regular small gas engine similar to like a lawnmower. And it's a three-day proposal. So it will make its way around the perimeter of the pond. That's where most of these things tend to stay in the shallower water, so the roots can reach the bottom and the leaf structures can reach the surface. So it's usually not an issue out in the center and the deeper parts of the pond, but it's fairly quick. It's not really invasive, that they don't obstruct the public access while they're there. So far it's been a very successful project. And each year we've removed several tons of vegetation at each round. So we're getting quite a bit, and we've arranged for the ideal schedule with the contractor to make sure they're here at the peak time. So all pieces of this puzzle are aligned, and we have all of the approvals needed. So DEC permits are in place, and all the required authorizations to move forward are here.
Great. And once again, I want to thank the Fresh Pond Association for, stepping up and being good community citizens. This whole thing got a rough start a couple of years ago, but it's going so smoothly, and it's so great that they are getting it done. So thanks to them.
Yes. Go ahead. If you want to come up to the podium. Your name to the record.
Directing it to you.
Yes,
for
yes,
you.
exactly.
Has there been any investigation, this is just the science nerd in me, on looking at the nutrient uptake, like doing any like dry weight or any kind of like processing to see like how much nitrogen is that plant is removing and you physically removing it?
Yes, not as direct as what you said. We've done a study, a thorough investigation of the pond itself with sediment sampling, so we know the average concentrations of nutrients throughout the bathymetry, and we know that the nutrient which is causing the harmful algal blooms is in excess of phosphorus. The long-term plan to remediate that is through a different project, but we know that the vegetation removal aids in that. And so because we have a number of different species of vegetation that come out, we haven't broken down the nutrient load to be a little bit different for every plant species. But we do measure and record generally the ratios of species that come out and the volumes and weights that come out. So we have all of those records, and if we need to, or we're prompted to do a more thorough study, we could feasibly break out those specific things, but right now it's just by weight.
Cool to see like how it changes over each harvest, you know?
Yes, and I think at Georgia Pond, this is the long-term remediation project because the whole pond is fairly shallow and there's a lot more vegetation, and so they just do this at a much grander scale as a way to permanently remove those nutrients. But not for us. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Put that on for Monday. Green Options Committee would like to talk about a request for proposal for solar earth recycling center.
Tim Patel, Chair of the Green Options Committee. We're here today to follow up the previous presentations about pursuing the concept of having a solar array on one of the recycling center roofs. We did a presentation, I forget how many weeks ago or a month ago, and we've since then, with suggestions from the town board and our liaisons, Ben and Meg, to pursue an RFP to be put out on July 1st for 30 days. We're here today to seek your support to put out the actual RFP. We put together a draft RFP, which we've shared with Joe Venora, our town engineer. And we've also shared the RFP, the draft RFP, with the contact at Solar United Neighbors, which is a nonprofit that provides expertise for municipalities and homeowners seeking to install solar. So today, I did send it out yesterday from SharePoint. We got the one sheet. I just wondered, do you want to have I don't know if you were able to print out the full RFP, what I sent you. Okay, otherwise I can make copies for you, but you're good. Okay.
Yes, yes. Yes, so we can review that.
So Don D'Amato is here just to answer any questions you have about the RFP. Rob Pappas is here in the building. I think he's upstairs on a Zoom call. So I'm going to take it to Don. And again, just the goal for today is to get the town board approval to send out an RFP.
Thank you, Tim. Yeah, Donald D'Amato, a member of the Green Options Committee. So yes, as Tim said, you have the one pager, which is the short, sweet way to look at this. And just as a refresher, we are limited to 50 kilowatts AC before we incur what's called a CSER process, which is a in-depth review by the utility, by PSEG. So we wanted to avoid that in the interest of time. And because there are inherent losses in the process of conversion from DC to AC, we actually believe that we can mount a 60 kilowatt DC panel on the roof of the recycling shed. And this will produce some numbers that I didn't give you before, a little bit higher than what we talked about before, roughly 71,000 kilowatt hours per year. And just to convert that to something meaningful for you, my house very roughly uses something like 500 kilowatt hours per year, half a megawatt. Here we're talking about 70 megawatts. So well over 100 times more than my house would be using, could be generated by the roof of the recycling shed. And it would largely offset some of the costs. We talked about this before, that the rate structure for PSEG, a commercial rate structure, limits the effective payback, if you will, compared, say, to a residence. But given that still, the payback can be used to offset charges at other town meters. And so that is what we are proposing. Tim mentioned that this person at Solar United Neighbors had reviewed the document, and he's provided some very helpful comments on our RFP. We don't think his comments in any way change the structure, but they do help the potential bidders to understand what we're trying to do. And I like his last comment right at the end of his note that it was sent out late last night. I'll just read it to you. Overall, I think you've covered your bases. If I were a solar installer, I'd be excited about the opportunity to have the town as a client. So, it's cute.
Encouraging.
It's encouraging. So that is it, and I'd be glad to answer any questions about it, but we hope the town can proceed with the release of the RFP, and obviously, as we've said, sooner the better. Any questions?
No, I think there's my one comment for the board and the public is we would put out this RFP, get an estimate as to what this cost would be, and then figure out how to pay for it from there. So we'd have them in hand, and that would allow us to go for grant funding and talking about how to finance.
Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly. And the question that we received from potential bidders, I think, would help us understand also, because we have many questions about the nature of the AC power there and the utility rate, et cetera. Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Tim, and then.
If I'm here, I might as well be engaged.
Yeah, Tim Patel, Green Options Committee. Again, I just want to respond to what your comment was, and that is the goal is to, the reason to get this out by July 1st, 30 days, so this matches up with your planning for next year. This, and hopefully this will give us a lot of answers and information that will help you plan.
Thanks, Tim.
Kate Rowski Snook, as a resident, I love this, love to hear this, felt that. As a Cornell employee, their CC Suffolk has a whole clean energy division, so speaking on the after the RFP question of funding, that I would be very happy to connect you, make Meg, Ben as the liaison, we tried to connect a little while ago. Back when you were first, you presented.
If you could.
Sorry, this is
so this
like. I'm sorry. A little while ago, Tim kind of started speaking about maybe the possibility of getting the school to do some solar, but now there's a more actionable item. So yeah, would love to connect you guys with the people who lead the clean energy division at Cornell. And it's like kind of, they serve as a clearinghouse to help fund these kinds of programs, and they were very excited about getting Shelter Island more actively involved in these efforts. So
Sounds good.
So yeah,
You can send me the information and, yeah.
yeah, okay, great, happy to do it.
Thanks, Kate.
Any questions from the public on this? Okay. We will take a look at this and take steps so we can continue moving forward on issuing that RFP. All right, next is the Equipment Reserve Fund. We need to look at whether, how we can afford and pay for a Hyundai loader purchase that is needed. So Ken, do you want to brief everyone on where we stand?
So I think as we've seen in the past, when I was discussing the Equipment Reserve Fund, in these last couple of years, I've identified 3 pieces of equipment that we definitely we're going to need to address. And I put them in the order of the walking floor trailer, which we finally got underway and is due to us probably middle to end of this month finally. So that's, will be great to get that back in service. And then I identified a new loader, payloader, as well as then a new sweeper eventually down the road. So currently, we have, in looking at the reserve fund, we do have the money in the reserve fund to purchase a new payloader. We have 3 loaders. The newest is the current Hyundai loader that we have, and the next oldest is a Caterpillar loader that's about 16 years old now. And then we have an older Caterpillar loader that's almost 20 years old that sits as our sort of reserve loader. The main Caterpillar loader is used primarily at the recycling center and the transfer facility, so not only for loading construction debris, but also does a lot with the loading of mulch, et cetera, topsoil, screening of topsoil. So the idea would be to, as it is with some of the other things that we've done in the past, to move that loader becomes our sort of reserve loader, and then we have purchased a new loader to take its place. So now we'll have 2 loaders that will probably be within, they're about 5 years age-wise. The idea behind this Hyundai loader is it's one that we've utilized in these past years. We wouldn't have to change any of the attachments that we currently have on the current Hyundai loader. It would still service the same attachments, which is also a savings. And this loader is still available off of the state contract. So that saves a tremendous amount of money. It's about a 51% savings on the cost. So in order to I'd like to start to facilitate the process, because as we know, we have to go to a 30-day, there's gotta be a 30-day, for the permissive referendum. So for any questions, the loader, we will be able to trade in the oldest loader too, and they're giving us $10,000 on the trade-in. So it's a total after trade is $212,626.60. There is a financing. We will finance it obviously over the 4 years, so that the dollar amount for 4 years, the annual payments like we did for the excavator and the grinder, et cetera, will be 4 payments of $58,431. It should be noted too that this, in talking to Jen Messiano, our grant writer, this piece of equipment, because of its use, we would be able to apply to the DEC for some form of reimbursement on the total cost of this. As you know, it takes a few years to get the money back from the DEC, like we did with the excavator and the grinder, but we did get the money back. And that money can go into the fund. How much that is, I'm not sure. Jen would have to go through the application process. And they like to weigh it out because obviously this loader gets used at the transfer facility. But we also use it on the road sometimes, especially during snow, et cetera. So they like to know the percentage. So if we say, hey, we use it 80% of the time at the recycling facility, transfer facility, then they base their dollar amount that they'll give us off of that usage. So anyway, so that's pretty much it in a nutshell. I think this also comes, I do have concerns about these older machines. I don't know if any of you realize, but just recently in the last 2 weeks, my friend and counterpart over in Southold, the waste management director, Nick Krupski, they had a bad fire where one of their loaders, it had an electrical fire overnight and it caught on fire and exploded and caught the other loader next to it on fire. So they lost 2 loaders pretty quickly, and he's now scrambling to try to find, a replacement for it. So the key for me with this was the loader that I'd like to move into the reserve role. We were having some electrical issues with it.
Is that the one turning on by
Yes,
itself?
it was turning on by itself. And then the joystick controls were not manageable. And so I thought, after looking at the fund, I thought this was a good time to think about doing this, and that they're still available on state contract. I thought that was also the timing was right. So
It doesn't happen to be the same model as what in Southwold, does it?
no, it wasn't. This was a different model.
And let's park it in a corner by itself.
Yes.
Just in case.
I do already. It stands alone, yes.
Yeah. Just a quick question, just to be clear. So the one that you're trading in and that's going away is the 20-year-old one?
Yeah, that's the oldest one, but which is still operational, but it's it's definitely on its last legs. We mostly just use it around the facility. It helps during the winter time. That may be the one that we leave at the facility to load. Somebody will use it to load the salt sand, do some minor snow removal around the property itself, parking lots, et cetera. But it's in a very limited use capacity right now.
Okay.
But the one that we'd be pulling out of the recycling center to put into that reserve role is in better shape than that one. It's still a little bit newer machine, but it's definitely starting to have its issues. So
That's the one that seems possessed.
yeah, the one that seems a little possessed, and we use it a lot, and having a loader at the recycling center is it's a key part of the operation without a doubt. The amount of use it gets is tremendous for both loading, customers as well as, helping get rid of our construction debris and metal, so.
And have we yet received the grant reimbursement for the grinder and the other thing?
Yes, Those came, it took a while. I mean, I think we just, maybe if Shelby, if you can remember, I think it was a year or two ago that we got the money finally for the excavator.
In 2025.
Right, so about a year.
Grinder was back in 2021.
Right, the grinder came faster for some reason than the excavator,
But that whole process takes like a year and a half.
No, the grinder took 3 years because we purchased the grinder first in 2018, and then we received the reimbursement in 2021. The excavator was purchased in 2017, and we got the reimbursement in 2025. So that one took 8 years.
Oh my
And
God.
also,
Okay.
they did not allow us to get 100% because they wanted to know how it gets used. And so the various uses factor into the grant reimbursement.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I'll do a screen share of the Equipment Reserve Fund analysis.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, good. So originally, we were looking to buy the Hyundai Loader in 2027. And this isn't my most up-to-date one. I realized I got a new computer last week to replace the one that was dying. And my most up-to-date one is on my old computer. I have to get that file copied over. I didn't realize not everything made it over, but this one, which Shelby found for me just now, had us purchasing it in 2027 over time so that we would have been paying it off in 27, 28, and 29. So we'd be bumping that schedule up a little bit. No, 30.
By another year, yeah.
Yeah, so we'd be moving that into our 2026 year. So we had the walking floor trailer, which, did we start
We
paying for
paid
that
that
last
off in
year?
bulk.
Yeah, we paid that off in, yeah, so I have
That's
to.
paid in full. We had to pay in full basically.
Yeah. So that was a bigger, what was that, 107,000?
114.
114 in this year.
Yeah.
Last year. Do you recall if that was last year or this year?
If we haven't paid it yet.
Oh,
but
you know
it's
what?
not
Oh, let me
14,
stop
it's
screen share and show you, bring that one up.
Yeah,
You've got the
we're gonna
numbers.
pay it this year.
Yes.
I forgot that I had circulated that to you all at some point.
They were able to start to work with the PO to know that we were gonna pay it this year.
Oh, it's okay, I just, yeah.
Mhm.
There you go.
Okay, yeah, so it was earlier this year. So if we do the Hyundai Loader and depending on the pricing, 58,431, it would still leave us 73,836 in the fund at the end of the year. And then we start to rebuild it. And one of the things that we want to do in capital planning is just blow out any more equipment purchases in the 28, 29, 30 years, because you can see by 2030, the balance is up to 298,000, but that doesn't take into account the sweeper.
I was gonna say the sweeper's not in this.
Yeah, we have to add the sweeper, and I think, was there one other thing that
I
needed?
think long-term, we have to plan for the grinder.
Right,
Long term, I plan for the grinder. I mean,
Right.
it's still in very good shape.
Yeah.
We'll get, I think we would get significant money on a trade-in on that grinder just because of the care that, Brett Page is our operator of the grinder and that operation. So I think we get significant money on it, but it's a big dollar. Those things are going up. From the grinder that we got till the grinder, then that same version of that grinder is now. I think the town paid $750,000 for that grinder. I think it's over $1 million now, that same grinder, so. But again, this is why we plan for it,
And the walking floor trailer, the new one that is on its way, is fully paid for now?
It will be fully paid for at the completion of the construction of it.
Okay.
but that schedule has it taken into account.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah, we would have hoped to have tried to pay that much like we do these other ones, across time so we could do it, but the manufacturer wouldn't allow it. But I was also able to save us an additional $30,000 by going on to, I was able to work with the town of East Hampton off of a contract they had for their walking floor trailer that they had purchased. So that saved us, it was originally $144,000, down to $114,000, so that was good.
All right. So by building one for East Hampton and one for us, they gave us a discount?
Yes, that's when you're able to piggyback off, that's why this is also important, because currently the Hyundai loader that we have that I would like to continue to keep in the fleet, like I said, because of our attachments that are compatible with one another, it's available still on the off the state bid, so, which is good, and we can have it actually in service because it comes, there's a local dealer that we deal with on regularly for a lot of other things. So if we get to 30 days and we get into July, I'm pretty certain I could have the loader here within a week or two.
So that discount, is that reflected in this 230 grand or not yet?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the loader retails for $445,000.
Jeez.
Yes. That's why the piggyback opportunities and coming off the state contracts, and with because we're such a small, because of our size, it's helpful when we were able to couple with, like a larger town like East Hampton. The last loader that we purchased came off the Islip Town contract where they might buy 5 or 6 of these things, at a clip. So we're able to, add one into the mix for us and we get the savings. So it's a good way to do it.
Cool.
The only caveat, I saw something come through from Association of Towns yesterday, I believe it was, and there was a case about piggybacking off of contracts. And so I just want to have you, Thomas, take a look at that.
Yeah.
It's new. It seemed like there might be a delay in implementation, but Association.
This one isn't so much this isn't really a piggyback. This is a state contract. This is off of Sourcewell, which is approved by the state of New York. They're a larger clearinghouse for these things. We are a member of Sourcewell, and we can we have made purchases through Sourcewell before, so that's what this is. I think it's the Office of General Services or something.
Amber, what was the case? It was to not allow piggybacking?
Yeah, there was some challenge.
There was a case of a piggyback that took place where they did it for another state, I think it was, or something, where they were doing something in the state of New York, but they piggybacked off of a city contract like in Texas or something, I think. Thomas and I talked about this.
Yeah, you basically, if you're gonna piggyback off of another state or the federal government, you have to prove that their procurement procedures are the same as required in New York. But yeah, I don't know anything about a recent case, so I'll look it up.
Yeah, I'll find it and circulate it to everybody. But just something we need to keep in mind, especially Ken, who does the most procurement.
The big toys.
Yes, the big equipment. All right, so then if we have all of the information numbers wise, we can work on pulling that resolution for Monday to start the permissive referendum process.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Good.
Yep.
All right, thank you guys.
Right, the next section is public comments. Mr. Gaynor, before I call you up here, are you here to talk about something other than Sylvester Manor?
I'm here to speak about Sylvester Manor having their farm to table party on the 28th of June, and they have none of the permits for that. So I'm not here to talk about their application. I'm here to talk about specifically that unpermitted event.
If you can stick strictly to that topic, because right now the public hearing on their site plan review closed. We'll be reopening it in a special, so there'll be no conversation. So please keep it to just that on the table.
100%. Thank you for the guidance on that, Amber. Today, in this work session, I lost count, somewhere around 10 people asked for permission to do things. Everything from the 5K race, the Chamber of Commerce, music at Wade's Beach. Ron Anderson wants to have a family party. Guy from the New York Times, Oyster Lady, you name it, Shelter Island, on June 28th, approximately 20 days from today. Is that right? 20 days from today, Sylvester Manor Educational Farm is going to be having their 13th farm to table party. It's be the 13th time they've had it, and every single one of those has been illegal. All of the things that are taking place at that event, 500 people are expected to attend on average every year, 500 people. That's approximately 250 cars. They're going to have amplified music. We're going to have all the things that we're supposed to be discussing on June 8th at a hearing, which is when we will discuss them. All those things that they're supposed to be getting a permit for, like these people had to get permission for, they're going to do them already. It's already done. It's illegal. Why are you letting them do illegal things? Why? They've had 16 years to get their permits in place so they can have events like these, and they haven't done it. So why are you allowing them to have that event? There's a structure in place inside of the town code that says if people do things that they don't have site plan approval for, they get penalized. There's all sorts of penalties. You're not taking any action to stop them. All the things they're going to do that night, 250 cars, where are they going to park? The Department of Transportation has told you that the entrance to that property is dangerous, and you're going to allow them to do that. Some lady wanted to take a picture on the beach, and we spent, 15 minutes talking about it, about taking one photograph. These people are going to have a massive party over there that they do not have approval for. Why are you allowing them to do illegal things? I've confronted you on this on multiple occasions. I don't want to on Monday night have to call you a liar, Amber. I want an explanation for it. You're an elected official. You're one of the 5 supervisors for the east end of Long Island. And you're making up stories here that are not true, and it undermines people's faith in government. You've got to stop doing it. I want an explanation because it doesn't exist. There's nothing inside of the code that says these people can go have an event that's required to have a permit and do that legally. I want an answer. So I'm giving you fair notice. On Monday, you can explain to me, and I want a truthful answer. And I'm not going to leave here until I get it, a truthful one, because there is nothing inside of the town code that allows them to have that event until they've received site plan approval. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Around the table. Let's see. It's been 3 weeks since our last work session, so let's see. It's been a while. I was going to say, we had capital planning on May 12th. Let's see. Hot lot, we're.
Well, we
Go
had,
ahead.
we had green options since then, but mostly it was about the RFP, which we heard directly from them today. The other thing is there are a couple of vacancies on that committee that I think it'll be a good idea to reach out to the public again. If anyone's interested, please contact Town Hall. And that's kind of it. Anything else, Meg?
I think for green options, you've kind of got that covered. The subcommittee met to go over the site plan review legislation, and we did make it through the entire document. So the attorney is working on revisions, and we'll get that back to us so that we can share it with the board. And then we also, the week after that, worked on the wetlands code. We did not make it all the way through that code yet. So we're going to have another follow-up meeting in the weeks to come to address the rest of the codes that the revisions can be made so it can come back to the board. So we're working on both of those amendments. We had also, PEP came to talk to us about sort of to talk to like a subcommittee of committees. So they came to speak to the WMAC, the CAC, the planning board, town board, and Reed Karen, who actually couldn't make it, and Joe Fenora about wetlands code, wetlands processes, how the DEC, the Army Corps, and the town permitting processes work together or don't work together to help give us some guidance and recommendations on possible changes we can make to our code that would allow homeowners to come to us for approval before they went to the Army Corps and the DEC to get approvals, so that if we had any recommendations or conditions, then it would go with the application to the DEC and Army Corps. So they're actually going to come back next week for a follow-up because we didn't get through the entire presentation. And I'll have, there's a whole book, like a manual they put together for all the East End towns. This is part of a study that started, I want to say 2 or 3 years ago, when Jim Colligan and I were working with Jade, and they had an attorney who was doing her internship with them and looked through all the codes of the East End and Suffolk County wetlands codes for all the different towns and kind of compared and contrasted them and took best practices from each one and kind of gave us an outline of what everybody around us was doing. Because PEP is trying to come up with recommendations for all the towns. So the codes sort of work together from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. So you don't have a significantly different rule from East Hampton to Southampton when they kind of share borders or, and so from all those recommendations, and then from talking to the DEC and Army Corps and the state and the feds, they're putting together kind of an outline of the process for each jurisdiction, so everyone can have a better understanding of how the permitting flow works. And then changes or modifications that can be made at a local level to either streamline the process or make it so that we kind of have first say before it goes to DEC. So also they're working to create a clear path of communication between the town and the DEC about different applications and things like that. So there are some recommendations that are coming from this that we might want to include in the wetlands code revision. So when Jade comes out on Thursday the 4th is when we're having our follow-up. I'll ask for extra books that I can share with the board so you can all see the process and how it currently works, which is sort of chaotic. And some of the recommendations on how we could maybe streamline it, make it more understandable, but also kind of give us more say in the process. So I'll bring those forward probably the week after next, because the 4th is after for next week. I can bring it in next week. So that's something that we did. That went on for 1, 2, 3 hours. That's a 3-hour long. It was a good meeting. It was very informational, but it was long. So I think that's all I have for now.
I have a question.
Mhm.
I was looking through some notes. On March 17th, at a town board work session, you said that we were going to start going through the comp plan
Mhm.
the next time. Okay.
Yeah.
And then at that time, you said possibly having a public hearing,
Mhm.
May 27th.
I'm waiting for everyone to get me all of their comments on the latest draft. And Liz, so far, is the only one who responded with some overriding things and was leaving.
And then I thought we were going to go through the draft.
I thought it would, rather than sit there, because I mean, some of my comments are this, like the bottom of this paragraph in the pulling together and getting it back into usable software fell off the page. So rather than dragging the public through that, I was waiting for everybody to just what have you got? What have you got? Like Meg and I had some of the same ones. So if you can either get me or we can schedule a time for you and I to sit down so we're not breaking quorum. If everyone gives me theirs, then I'm marking up the draft. We can get it back to Emily, the drafter. But yeah, it's just.
I was under the impression that we were going to go through
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I had
the draft like we had.
Yeah, I thought I had put something out in the email like a month and a half ago saying, let's schedule some time. And it just, I meant to reach out the past couple of weeks, but with some other stuff going on. So, but yeah, so if, like later this week or next week, you and I can sit down, I can show you what I've got and I can like do the accumulation. Since we can't do a red line copy, so we have on the website, we have the latest draft. What I would do is take down that draft that we put out there, put in my handwritten notes, because that's the best we're going to have for a red line copy, is that like once we've taken that and then the clean copy. So we'll have like the original public hearing one, ours with, you know,
With everybody's notes on
on
one
it,
draft.
and then that, yeah, so that was my plan. And yeah, I apologize. Some trips to visit my mother. It's been a little hectic, but yeah. But this summer we will have a public.
Now I know the plan.
Yes, exactly. So capital planning had met on May 12th. We talked about the Hyundai loader, which was the topic of conversation. The tot lot, we want to proceed with the state. The community block development grant made their numbers assessments, and they actually came back because they're dependent on how much money HUD gives them. So they actually, we had put in, I want to say, well, we were going to change it to 195,000. I think it was at 105,000. They actually took us down to 65,000 for the playground piece.
Right.
And they would like it to be, you know, for like paving the parking or like a specific component. So we're going to work with them on that, which means that our ask of the state will be higher, and the fundraising that the community does will be important if we want to get the biggest, you know, the Cadillac project done. We may have to, depending on what comes back from the state, scale it back to something smaller, more manageable. So that was a little bit of bad news in the past couple of weeks. Let's see, water advisory. You were there? One of the topics was where to, and I sat in, the extreme drought conditions. So they have upped based upon the well heights, because I think the big four wells are less than 10% of where like the norm is. So they moved to extreme drought condition. They didn't put into place, if you go to the website, it has like what are the benchmarks for the different classifications, and then what we do, like do we, you know, irrigating every other day, no, you know, washing your cars, things like that. They left that to the town board to implement. Based upon the rains that we've gotten the past couple of weekends, we don't like, kind of wondering what the next well level reports are. But depending on where those come, I think, and because we didn't have, you know, a town board work session for the past 2 weeks since WAC met, once they have their next meeting, which is June 15th, we should take a look and see whether or not, if we're still at severe or extreme drought, we institute some measures, because we are heading into a higher use season. So I did want to bring that to everybody's attention, and we may have to, you know, take a hard line on, you know, allowing people to do certain things and enforcing it. As of that meeting, there were 28 people, I think, so far who had signed up for the Center Triangle private well testing. So I think Joe Fenora and the committee were going to do some further reach out to try and up the number of people who are interested in having well tests and sharing that information. Joe's been working with the USGS to get what we need for as a quote from USGS, so that we can look at the baseline study, the saltwater intrusion, and figure out where we are in our budget and what we might want to apply to WQI for to help pay for it.
Yeah, with the triangle study, they were hoping to get 3 times that many responses. So I believe last weekend, the Memorial Day weekend, that was the weekend before, I don't know. They were actually gonna go out on foot and kind of canvass the neighborhood and put flyers on people's doors so that they knew that they were in, they had the opportunity. Because we did have like an opportunity for people to come and ask questions and nobody showed. So it was also before the summer season started. So a lot of second homeowners may not have been out. So they used the holiday weekend to try to drum up some interest.
As noted earlier, we're looking for Green Options Committee members. We're looking for Water Quality Improvement Advisory Board members. We are looking for a clerk in the building department. So if anyone wants to go online to the town website, you can see what job openings there are. So just wanted to put that out there. And that's it, unless anybody else has anything else. Okay. We will adjourn the work session so that we can go into a special meeting. That's a few resolutions. So, Meg, if you'd like to start.
Whereas an application for site plan approval was submitted by Sylvester Manor Educational Farm, the applicant, on August 8th, 2025, to make certain improvements to the existing facilities, and whereas the project is located at 80 North Ferry Road, Suffolk County Tax Map 700-8-1-5.10, Shelter Island, a 138-acre property located within a residential AA and business D zoning district. Whereas the public hearing was closed on April 6, 2026, and whereas the town board wishes to reopen the hearing in order to review additional information necessary for the town board's determination of significance under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, now therefore be it resolved that a public hearing will be held at 6 p.m. or as soon thereafter, prevailing time, on June 29th, 2026 in the Shelter Island Town Hall, for all interested persons to be heard in favor of or in opposition to the application. So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Benjamin, you should abstain.
Oh, sorry about that.
That's
I
okay.
abstain.
Okay, perfect. Motion carried. Page here. Whereas Chad Pike, 6 Bluff Avenue, Suffolk County Tax Map 700-5-4-1 has applied to the town of Shelter Island for a permit to construct a 5-foot by 30-foot ramp up to 5 feet by 100-foot dock with a 5-foot by 27-foot L section at seaward end, 70-foot splashboard system, 1 2-pile dolphin, 3 ladders, and 1 bench for plans submitted by Costello Marine dated January 9th, 2024, and stamped New York State DEC approved on January 18th, 2024, and amended to a 5-foot and 88.5-foot dock with a 5-foot by 27-foot L extension at seaward end, 70-foot splashboard system, 1 2-pile dolphin, 3 ladders, and 1 bench for plans submitted by Costello Marine dated December 23rd, 2025, and whereas on June 9th, June 30th, July 21st, September 8th, September 29th, October 20th, and December 1st, 2025, and March 16th and April 27th, 2026, a public hearing or public hearings were held on the subject application where public comments were received and taken under consideration, and whereas the subject application was referred to the Waterways Management Advisory Council and the report was taken into consideration, now therefore be it resolved that pursuant to NYC RR 617.5 C9 of the State Environmental Quality Review Act, this application is deemed a type 2 action, and be it further resolved that the town board hereby denies the subject application for the following reasons. 1, the proposed dock would violate the town zoning code, chapter 133 of the town code, specifically section 133-7E1B of the town code states that a private dock is a permitted accessory structure on a property within the district AA residential zone. Under section 133-1, accessory structures are defined as a subordinate use, building, or structure incidental to and located on the same lot occupied by the principal use, building, or structure. As such, a lot with an accessory structure must include a principal structure under Chapter 133 of the Town Code. The subject property, however, is a vacant lot and does not include a principal structure. Therefore, Chapter 133 of the Town Code prohibits the construction of a private dock on a vacant land without a principal structure. The applicant submitted examples of private docks on vacant lots approved in the past by the town board, and upon request from the town board, the building inspector prepared a list of both pre-existing and approved private docks on vacant lots. However, a municipality is not stopped from enforcement of the zoning code by these prior approvals for private docks on vacant lots. C. Marino versus the Town of Southampton, 61 AD 3D 761, Second Department, 2009, and Barris Shoe Company, Inc. versus the Town of Oyster Bay et al., 234 AD 2D 245, Second Department, 1996. Because the plain language of Chapter 133 of the Town Code prohibits a private dock in the location proposed by the applicant, the Town Board must enforce the zoning code as written, and the prior approvals for private docks on vacant lands are not determinative. 2, further, the Town Board finds that the proposed location of the dock is against the public health, safety, and general welfare for the nearby swimming beach maintained by the Shelter Island Heights Property Owners Corporation under Section 53-15 of the applicable Town Code. Because the applicant applied to the New York State DEC prior to February 13, 2024, Chapter 53-2B of the Town Code mandates that the prior version of Chapter 53 applies to the subject application. The Town Board has the authority to modify any provisions of this chapter as, in its judgment, is not requisite to the interests of the public health, safety, and general welfare. Here, the Town Board finds that the boats docking at the proposed dock would be a safety hazard for the swimmers, and therefore finds that the proposed location is not acceptable under its authority under Chapter 53-15 of the applicable Town Code. So moved.
Second.
I'll take a roll call vote. I vote yes.
Aye.
Benjamin?
Aye.
Albert?
Aye.
And Elizabeth Hanley is absent. Motion carried.
Whereas a vacancy exists on the Community Preservation Fund Advisory Board, and whereas the Town Board has advertised for and interviewed applicants, now therefore be it resolved that Mark Mobius is hereby appointed to serve as a member of the Community Preservation Fund Advisory Board for a term to expire on February 2nd, 2029. So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Albert, I know I had food poisoning at the last Town Board meeting, and therefore this got tabled. Were you able to reach out and have a discussion with the applicant or the chair of the committee? We had 2 applicants, and, we had, like 5 applicants. Mark was the choice of the Town Board team that interviewed that day, as well as the Community Preservation Fund Advisory Board, if that helps in your.
No, I wasn't able to be.
Right, yeah.
For the interview process, that's all. So I did abstain.
Okay. Oh, I thought that it got pulled.
What's that?
It
Yeah, we
got
ended
pulled.
up just,
The resolution got pulled that day.
We tabled
So I
it.
just wasn't sure if we were going to run into a gridlock for today.
No, it was also me too, because I missed that interview, but I have gone back and looked at the applicant's resume history, and I'm okay. I'm okay to move forward.
Okay. If there's no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Abstentions?
Abstention.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Mhm.
We're skipping over the Jonathan Bang New York Times.
Whereas Misha Jenkins, on behalf of Gray Mallon, 76 Springy Banks Road, East Hampton, New York, 11937, has requested a filming permit for June 8th, 2026 for permission to have a photo shoot on Crescent Beach. And whereas the filming crews consist of 8 persons and 2 personal cars, and whereas said application has been reviewed by the Police Department, Highway Department, Town Board, now therefore be it resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized and directed to issue the aforementioned filming permit upon receipt of the following fees. Minor filming fee application, $500, rush fee, $1,000, daily minor filming fee, $1,000, and refundable cleanup deposit of $1,000.
So moved. Second? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carried. Whereas Mary Ellen Adipietro, on behalf of the Shelter Island Run, has requested permission to place signage to promote advertising for their 2026 Shelter Island 10K and 5K run/walk that will take place on June 20th, 2026. And whereas the Town Board discussed the request at the June 2nd, 2026 work session, now therefore be it resolved that the Be resolved that the town board hereby approves said request with the conditions that all signs be placed in a manner that does not obstruct line of sight for motorists or create any roadway safety hazard, and that all signs be removed within 24 hours after the event. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Whereas the Shelter Island History Museum has requested permission to place a banner over 114 across the street and in front of the Presbyterian Church to advertise their red, white, and blue 250th gala that will take place on July 18th, 2026. And whereas the town board, police department, and highway superintendent have reviewed the said request, now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby approves said banner request with the condition that it be removed within 24 hours after the event. So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. I'll make a motion to close the special meeting and go back into the work session.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 And now we'll make a motion to go into executive session to discuss contract negotiations and the employment history of an employee.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you, everyone.